guys, it's Kat and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're one of the 1,000 people subscribed. That's exciting. So to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, today's video is St. Patrick's Day themed squishy makeovers. Now Moriah Elizabeth is one of my all-time favorite YouTubers. Go check her out if you haven't already. She does squishy makeovers that are absolutely amazing. Her videos literally taught me everything I know about squishy makeovers. So yeah, if you guys want to see my attempt at making over squishies, then just keep watching. So the first squishy getting a makeover is this chubby panda. Boop. Now he's got a few rips and paint peeling and a lazy eye. Honestly, I don't know what is up with cheap squishies always having crazy eyes, or why this squishy's eyes are orange, but he still has a really good squish to him. Okay, so Moriah usually uses sandpaper to rough up her squishies, but I don't have sandpaper. What I do have is a nail file. This just helps to create some texture on the squishy so the fabric paint will stick to it. Now I also have this ice cream squishy that has a good squish to it, but is falling apart. So I'm going to cut off part of its cone and turn it into a hat for our little panda. And I'm just trying to trim off the cone pattern here so it looks more hatty and less coney. Then I'm going to glue his little hat on with fabric glue and secure it with a rubber band whilst the glue dries. Now he kind of looks like that emoji. He's not impressed. Okay, glue is dry. It is time to take some puffy paint and fill in all the areas we cut. And I'm also going to use this to fix his neck rip and attempt to cover his crazy panda eyes. Now I'm switching to a matte white fabric paint and basically covering everywhere that isn't already white with a layer or two to act as a base coat. So hopefully I won't have to do a million layers of brown over the black to get him all the same color. And yes, I'm turning him from a panda bear into a brown bear. Creative, I know. So obviously we need some brown paint to turn him into a brown bear, and somehow got myself covered in paint in the process. How are other YouTubers so clean when they do this? Then I noticed the paint not sticking to his lazy eye. Turns out that nail file I used is pretty worn down and did nothing. But at least now you guys get to see what happens when you don't rough up a squishy first. Now you're probably wondering, hey Kat, you missed a giant chunk on his chest and arms. Well, that's because I'm going to give him a green sweater. It's St. Patrick's Day. He's gotta wear green. I'm pretty sure that's a rule. So I'm just using a dotting tool to sketch out where I want his sweater to go and then filling it in. I just find it's easier to have a cleaner line this way. And of course, I have to paint his hat to match. Now I'm going to give his sweater some green trim. As you can probably see, I did get green sweater paint on his head. But I will clean that up towards the end because, spoiler alert, it gets a lot worse. And surprise, the green paint is now all over his head. Like I said, I have no idea how other YouTubers are so neat with this. But anyway, now I'm going to give his hat some grey trim. I want it to be like those leprechaun hats people wear on St. Patrick's Day. And I'm sorry if that is not the correct term for the hat. Now I'm going in with a paler brown to paint on his little ear holes and toe beans. And I also wanted to add that clover detail to his hat, but really struggled with this. The smaller the detail, the more I struggle, but after a few tries, we eventually got there. Now I'm painting on his eyes, and I definitely should have used more puffy paint to cover up his old panda eye details, because they are very visible. So we're just going to pretend he's just had a few sleepless nights and has eye bags. Maybe he's just too excited for St. Patrick's Day. Anyway, now I'm giving him a nose and mouth and giving him those little whisker dots, which kind of made him look like a mouse. I guess he's just a bear panda mouse hybrid now. Okay, so he's almost finished, so I'm just going to paint on the whites of his eyes and a shine streak on his nose. Then I'm going back in to fix up all the areas that I messed up and got paint where it wasn't supposed to be. And to finish off the squishy, I am stabbing him with a sewing needle so the air can escape when we squish him. It's a good stab, guys. And here we have our new tired bear mouse hybrid. It's okay, he's just a brown bear. Ready to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in his little outfit. I'm still pretty happy with how he turned out, even if he is a little mousy. And also, he still has a great squish. Okay, for our next squishy makeover, I'm going to use this popcorn squishy. And I'm just going to let you guys know in advance, this is not my proudest squishy makeover. But hey, I'm still new to this. It's all a learning experience, you know? So the first thing I'm doing is removing the little hook thing. And now I know Moriah would fill this hole with some foam, but I'm just going to glue it together with fabric glue, and that seemed to work fine. Now I am going to roughly cut the popcorn tub in half and do my best to smooth out the area because I am turning the squishy into a pot of gold. Next I'm attempting, keyword being attempting, to sculpt some legs for the pot out of the leftover squishy, and this was just bad. The first lot looked like giant fluffy marshmallow legs, and then the next lot were kind of uneven and I kept finding giant air pockets in the foam, so the legs are a bit hole-y. Like I said, this isn't my proudest squishy creation. So now it's time to take some puffy paint and cover up the exposed squishy areas. This does require a few coats and I realized I couldn't actually tell where I was painting, so surprise, I switched to a yellow paint. Now I'm going to go in with my little nail scissors to cut off those extra squishy parts that aren't really supposed to be there. I somehow forgot to do this with the other squishies, which I deeply regret. But then I'm taking a new nail file, it's a little fox, and sanding down the squishy so we don't have another panda eye incident. And now it's time to start painting. So I'm going in with some white matte fabric paint first to be our base coat. Also, do you like my candle? I just find random things around my house to hold the squishies whilst the paint dries, like this candle here. Now that the base coat's dry, I'm going to paint the pot grey. I didn't bother painting a base coat on the corn because I am going to paint it a very similar colour anyway, and fabric paint is a wee bit expensive. Also, I apologize if you guys can hear the thunderstorm in the background. Just think of it as some added ASMR. Anyway, now I'm going to paint the corn a less saturated yellow so it looks more gold-like and hopefully less like corn. But let's be real here, it's still pretty corny. So I'm going to add some gold glitter fabric paint. This looks so gross whilst the paint's wet. I was actually worried the paint had gone off, but not to fear. Once it dried, the paint was completely clear except for the gold glitter pieces. So now that's looking a lot more gold-like. Honestly, I feel like this gold pot is still looking pretty boring, pretty basic. So I decided to paint a clover on the front to make it more St. Patrick's Day-y. It helped a little, but only a little. So again, to finish the squishy, it's time to stab some holes in it. And this is our finished pot of gold. Yeah, it's not the best squishy makeover I've seen, that's for sure, but I tried, okay? And yes, I know one of its legs doesn't even touch the ground. Moving on to my favorite squishy of the makeover, this adorable little cupcake. This is probably my favorite squishy I own. The foam is so soft. So as you can see, it's been very loved. It's got a few rips, a giant stain, and its cherry looks pitiful. Okay, step numero uno is to sand this baby down. And now I'm going to take some leftover foam from another squishy and use this to give his cherry back some volume. Once the fabric glue is dried, I'm going to take my trusty puffy paint to seal the cherry and to fill in any cracks and tears. Now I am going to change the color or flavor of this cupcake. So I am going in with a white matte fabric paint as a base coat first. For the cupcake wrapper, I've decided to go with a pastel yellow to help tie in with our other squishies better. Plus, I like pastel yellow. And now I want this to be a vanilla cupcake, so I'm going to paint his little cake area this lightish brown shade. And because this is St. Patrick's Day themed, obviously we've got to paint the icing green. The first batch of paint looked kind of blue, so let me just add some yellow on in there. Ah, green. So I'm using my silicone brushes to paint the bigger areas, then going in with my dotting tool to do the edges so they're nice and clean and crisp. Now his cherry doesn't really go with his new aesthetic, so now it's a dollop of cream. I'm just adding another coat of white puffy paint to make it look more creamy. And whilst I'm here, let's add some swirls to the icing too. Man, I really need to be more conscious about what's in frame because those sprinkles are ruining the anticipation of what comes next. Yes, I'm adding these green and white sprinkles whilst the paint is still wet. I know Moriah likes to make her own sprinkles, but that seems like a lot of work. So I prepared these earlier by buying them at a craft store. Now this is not enough green, it's St. Patrick's Day, people. We need to go all out. So I'm adding a dark green icing swirl as well with some more puffy paint and some more sprinkles. He's looking delicious already. I really liked the original face on the squishy, so I think I'm going to keep it, or something similar at least anyway. I painted on his eyes with my dotting tool, but it wasn't thin enough for his teeny tiny mouth, so I'm using this broken bit of a paddle pop stick for it, purely because I don't own any toothpicks. If you do have a toothpick, feel free to use that, but hey, this worked. Now I'm just going to stab him a bunch of times because I love him and I don't want to ruin his new paintwork with air bubbles. And here we have the finished Cupcake squishy. I love him so much. He's so adorable and still the best to squish. I think making over food is my favorite kind of makeover, especially when they have faces. And here we have all the made over squishies, ready for St. Patrick's Day. So those are my made over squishies. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Leave me a comment, let me know which was your favorite squishy makeover. Mine personally is the Cupcake. But I hope you guys are having a wonderful day and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys! Also, do you like my sweater? It's from Forever 21.